bad and the weird. You either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast. I'm Nico.
And I'm Chris.
And today we have murderous memories on our mind for today's episode.
We sure do.
We're continuing our series on serial killer / fictionally true crime movies with 2003's Memories of Murder.
A very interesting pick. I hadn't heard of it, but man, this is a good one.
Oh man, and I'm surprised you haven't, because honestly, this is like I'm gonna say, for probably most Americans, they wouldn't know this one, but this is like Bong Joon Ho's first movie that propelled him into the spotlight in South Korea.
Yeah, and here's the thing. He's becoming a household name here, so I think that this is gonna make its rounds again, because it did like a year ago, I just found out.
Okay.
I could have seen it in theaters and I missed it.
I didn't even know it came back to theaters, so...
We will talk about why it returned to theaters.
Yeah, so Memories of Murder is based on the play Come to See Me by Kwang Rin Kim, and written by Bong Joon Ho and Sungbo Shim. Apologize if I butcher any names.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
It's directed by Joon Ho. It's starring Song Kang-ho as Detective Park Do-man, Kim Sang-kyun as Detective So Tae-yoon, and Kim Ro-ha as Detective Cho Young-koo. It is about a investigation of a series of murders in the 1980s by the Hwaesong Murderer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You probably remember us talking about, I mean, we didn't directly do a review yet, but we've talked extensively about the director's big American claim to fame, Parasite.
Well, we did a review on The Host, which was we did it in a different manner, where this is his boost in Korean cinema.
Absolutely.
And we did The Host, which was his first like major international film.
And so I bet a lot of you, even though you might not realize you recognize his work, it's becoming more and more popular. I know Mother had a pretty big run here in the U.S.
Oh,
Parasite had
fantastic.
a huge run.
Yeah.
He's becoming a big name. And this had a re-release that we could have seen it in theaters. I know it came out in 2003, but according to limited releases that I could find, there were a couple of art film studios and a couple of smaller venues all agreed to do a re-release in America last year, because this is kind of based off of a real guy. And he finally got caught.
Yes, and I want to get to that more at the end, because it's
a very interesting tie.
In a way, it kind of changes the feeling of the end of this one, but...
It does, but at the same time, and something that I do think helps, especially for an American audience, is that even I, a true crime, enjoyer and fan and knowledgeable, I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable about the subject. I was not familiar with the real life case that this was based off of.
Well, and I haven't done too much of a dive into it. I know we don't get a lot of Eastern Asian true crime in the US unless it's like a major case, and even then it's hit and miss. And I don't know if it's maybe they don't allow their perpetrators to talk as much as we do, or something along those lines. Or I know some of the execution timelines are quicker than the US, so it's not like you don't have access to Edmund Kemper for decades at a time.
True. We'll talk about why I think the US does not know about the case that this is based off of, but something that I found very interesting is I feel like the West is unfamiliar with this story, but our director is not unfamiliar with the crime storytelling in America.
No, and I'll get into that in just a second. So for some recognition, Sungbo also wrote after this Sea Fog, as well as he worked on Doraemon Nobita no Takarajima. And I don't know if he's not as mainstream anymore. I'm sure he is just as mainstream as he was a few years ago. But
I think so.
Bong Joon Ho has international hits such as Parasite, Snowpiercer, and recently Mickey 17.
Of course.
Of the cast, I feel like Kang Ho doesn't need much of an introduction, with him being in Parasite, Snowpiercer, as well as The Good, the Bad, the Weird.
Hey, what a coincidence.
Sang Kyung, according to IMDb, he's the one that I really don't know much of, as was also known for On the Occurrence of Reminding the Turning Gate, or Remembering the Turning Gate.
It's a hell of a name.
As well as a show, What's With This Family.
That's a great name for a show.
Rohal has appeared in A Bittersweet Life, as well as a couple other Joon Ho flicks, including The Host and his first film, Barking Dogs Never Bite.
Yep.
And our sources for today's episode include commentary by Joon Ho, cinematographer Kim Hyung-kyu, production designer Ryu Sung-hee, Song Kang-ho, Kim Sang-kyung, and Park No-shik, as well as film critic Tony Raines, as well as critic Parsi Parket's interview with Joon Ho, as well as the making of featurette.
And I watched some news broadcastings talking about the arrest and original crimes when they happened in comparison with the movie that were released on public air for Korea.
But to get into it, Joon Ho had wanted to make a crime drama and was reminded of the Hwaesong Murders and found out and was fond of the play Come to See Me and was compelled with the portrayal, and so he got the rights to adapt it. And in that, Joon Ho spent 6 months researching before even starting to write, interviewing and consulting with a detective who worked on the case, as well as a journalist who followed the case, and even at one point wanting to solve the case himself.
Yeah, and boy, did he almost kind of do it.
Yeah, and it was really the 9th victim that he considered the most tragic, and what compelled him to write this in the first place.
Something that I found incredibly insightful and also touching was he talks multiple times about how, when filming this, he wanted to make sure that while this was going to be an interesting and compelling movie, he wanted to make sure that the families who remained from the victims did not feel like this movie was offensive in any way. So even though there are real-life scenes and places that he could have filmed in, he actively talks about how he chose not to film on those locations, choosing instead to film on very clearly different sites or on a soundstage.
Yeah, it was something that he didn't want to just reminisce and adapt, but polish and to make a good story. And while he was a little hesitant on it, I believe it was Raines who said that he had known him before he really got his start, but he gave him a copy of the book From Hell, the reimagining of Jack the Ripper, to show a larger social understanding that true crime was a much more global thing, and that you could in fact take something that was factual stuff and then alter it to make it your own original memories of murder.
Yes, and this sounds pretty obvious, especially for a movie that comes out in 2003 to an American audience. We have dabbled in the true crime genre, and especially based off of real true crime, for decades at this point. However, this was pretty new and fresh for the Korean scene, so I can see why he wanted to be very certain of himself before starting on this.
Oh yeah, very, very much so, and I need to do a better dive into Korean cinema, but I do know they are a little bit on the later side of coming to the international spectrum, especially considering the big three of like Chinese, Japanese, and now South Korean media.
No, absolutely, and part of that is the crimes take place, and the movie takes place in predominantly the 80s, a traditionally pretty conservative time for Korea.
you want to call a ruthless dictator traditional?
Look, I'm trying to be
conservative.
Polite. I'm trying to be polite. But knowing that there was a lot of, just cultural hesitancy around that sort of thing, and also a lot of taboo-ness behind it, especially from potentially portraying the police force in any negative light here, which this movie doesn't directly say, but it implies that maybe not everyone can be trusted.
It does it in a way where they're pretty scummy detectives, but they're a little quaint and backwards, and that's why we can maybe appreciate them and let some of their antics slide.
Yes, and especially knowing that he did watch and was a fan of American detective-style stories, where unfortunately there is one good cop and the rest are idiots and or corrupt. That wouldn't have sat well with the audience who this was about, and several of those people and families are still alive.
Yeah.
So I can understand why he really wanted to be very conscious and aware, and I think because of that, he created a better masterpiece with this than he possibly could have if he just went full in.
Yeah, and I'll get into that a little bit more as we get into the actual characters.
Oh, absolutely.
But one thing I do find interesting about the people he cast is that he didn't want to push the movie through star power, something that I find interesting in retrospective, especially considering how well Song Kang-ho's alone, how much his career's advanced.
I see what he was trying to do, but I think they have all reached stardom now, so...
Oh, yeah. So, Chris, before we dive into Memories of Murder, what are we drinking today?
We have soju. I have a mango.
I've got a citron because this is about the only type of Korean alcohol we can get in the US.
There's really nothing, yeah.
Cheers.
That's dangerously good.
Oh, yeah, this show will knock you on your ass.
Yum. I have to drive later.
I'll polish off what you don't finish.
Yeah, that's really good, though.
So, Memories of Murder. I find this introduction to the movie so beautiful because it's this... It feels so innocent and works so well because the children are playing along with Detective Park Do-man, who's just kind of riding along a little bit, trying to shoo them off. I mean, it's happy, almost the innocent days before the serial killer enters what at this time is a relatively smaller town. It's not the larger city it is today.
True. It's a very rural setting.
But we also get to see how small time it is that he doesn't even have a flashlight on him. He's using a broken mirror from the side of the road to shine light in. And also, like, the child mimicking him feels like this level of innocence of, like, he is also the kind of the child at the same point.
Yeah, it sets up the coming up scenes of not being adequately prepared to handle the crime like this. It sets it up so beautifully. That way you don't feel like, wow, what idiots. They've never had to deal with anything. And
it shows with Joon Ho what his attempt to make the movie about faces that you find it that one I do find personally fascinating that in this movie we have so many close-ups.
Yes,
and then
we spend a lot of time looking at people's eyes.
Yeah, and then you think back to like Hexen and how in the 20s and 30s people like, oh, that's too disturbing to show on the big screen, and now that's such a important part of how this movie operates is the close-up of the kid's face and Do-man's face makes it work as like almost a little bit of a mirror.
Oh, absolutely. I also think that this sets up the concept, something that he played with really hard in this movie, is the idea of, well, can you just point out who is the bad guy by looking at him? And I love how this movie handles that, because from the get-go, we get to see, well, this is an innocent kid's face. This is a good cop's face. He's trying. It's a small town. He's never had to do anything. That's what those people look like.
Oh.
Learn it.
Well, we'll get into that in just a little bit.
We will.
With how the news operated at the time.
That's true.
But then we have this immediate color change that they did through the bleach bypass method to make it bleak and also mute the rest of the colors. It was done to give the movie a bit of an aged feel since it's supposed to be memories of the murder and not supposed to be the actual depiction of it.
No, yeah. It also gives it a bit of a dreariness to the whole thing that really just keeps building with the gravity of the crimes.
Yeah, and so it works. It works because now it's stylized instead of portraying itself like the typical documentary, true crime documentaries we see.
Absolutely.
But it's that tonal shift from, okay, we had this happy moment to now it's a little backwater. He can't use the typewriter, and it seems like he's questioning every single person.
Yes.
Oh, and also it muted out the color, so that primary color, so that way, like, they had to be very strategic, so that way they ended up only using that red to make it striking.
Yes, so. An interesting choice.
But even on top of, like, seeing how initially kind of behind the times our main detective is, it's not just him, it's the whole force with them not roping off the scene of the second victim.
Oh my god, it hurt my poor little heart, but I felt like this movie did such a good job of portraying this unknowledge, like, not knowing what to do.
Because it's not just that, it's Bong Joon Ho's use of the camera. He does this a couple times throughout this movie, where he does this singular shot to, like, blend, okay, well, there's chaos going, or there's something going on, but then slipping in, okay, this other stuff messing with everything else, and, like, kind of the distraction of some of the case. Yes. And especially with this one, it's just everyone's contaminating the evidence.
Yeah.
It shows just how unprepared everyone, not just the police force, but the town is for this tragedy. It's become this gawking spectacle of you have to go and see what's going on now.
Yeah, you go poke the body in the woods sort of situation.
Yeah, a little bit. And then on top of that, like, everyone falling down the embankment. I like this kind of, like, running little humor that he has flowing throughout the movie, where it's not just, like, one or two scenes. It happens quite a few times.
But it feels like that gag that keeps happening in real life,
Mhm.
as opposed to that running gag in a movie where, oh, it's meant for the rule of threes, a gag, a giggle. This one feels like, yeah, and on top of the shitty day, people kept falling down the embankment. What a day I've had sort of memory.
Yeah, but also on top of that, our main detective, he's relying on instinct, which continues to show like how behind the times they really are.
Yes.
And it works fantastically well because partially because South Korea at the time, from what was told in the special features, is that they couldn't do proper forensics at the time, so that's really all you had was
Yes.
instincts, and it begins to show Joon Ho's goal of wanting to address the limitations of South Korea and its society in the 80s, mainly through loss, but you can see that it's not just through loss, it's through how they're unable to do anything because they're behind the times, or they're they're not able to follow through with any of the hunches or actually prove anything scientifically.
And the few evidence that they could potentially, work with, like footprints or, fingerprints, they're getting contaminated so quickly because everyone wants to come look. No one's really paying any attention.
Yeah.
And this is one of the few movies where you don't feel the frustration of, like, a laziness.
Mm-hmm.
Which usually plagues an American-style detective film where one guy knows what's happening, he knows but everyone else is just lazy. Or they're corrupt. No, people just genuinely don't know in this film.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's what makes it charming, is because they are just that little bit...
They're just curious.
It feels just enough backwater without making it to, like, from our... And maybe it's just because I don't know Korean cinema or Korean stereotypes super well, but, like, how when we think of backwoods... rednecky cops and stuff, it doesn't have that same feel for us.
No, but I can attest there's plenty of rubbernecking that would have also happened here, so like
100%.
Like it does translate well, even if potentially like the superstition that might be based around why we're missing some of the like hesitancy on, well, my gut said that isn't really a good, detective thing, at least not in movies. So like, but I'm missing that context, but I'm still happy with the result. I'm not feeling like I'm drowning.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah.
And, like, even we get these little reveals of Man as a person. Where, like, when he's talking with the local sex worker, which, something that I did miss as well, and I had to be in the commentary for me to understand is...
Yeah, same.
It's the way he acts with her where they feel like a married couple. And especially, like, later on in the movie where they're, like, laying down together, like, it feels like they're going to bed like a normal couple would.
Yeah, a little bit.
But it works a little bit because that kind of is what the relationship ends up being. But this set's supposed to be an inn, and for us, it doesn't feel like that.
No, I agree. I did also miss that. But again, the context wasn't necessarily, like, holding me back from enjoying anything. I didn't feel like I was, missing a giant hole in the story or anything like that.
No, because ultimately, while she's there as, like, love interest, because honestly, she feels like she's pampering him more than a sex worker would.
Yeah, a little bit.
Or, I mean, he's a good customer, probably.
Oh, yeah, maybe he pays extra.
But she's the one who's working with kind of these backwater through the grapevine leads that he's working with.
Yeah.
Something that shows that he's working with usually what's considered, like, the less desirable of society, at least from the American standpoint.
Sure.
I think what do we call them? The lesser dead.
Yeah.
So like he's willing to work with people who are kind of on the fringes of society, which works. But at the same time, he kind of doesn't even like really think about it. He's like, oh, but isn't he senile? So why would I believe him? But he still follows through.
Yes.
And it works really well without having to go through like a whole newspaper scene, because Rains brought up that at this time, the papers were free to accuse whoever without any repercussions.
Yep,
so
just go for it.
So that muddling of that grapevine really ruins any type of real investigation they could have done at that time. And especially with Duman's character, is that How is he going to be able to tell fact from fiction if everyone's pointing the finger at everyone? Well,
and this also brings the styling back towards the American kind of noir detective that we learned the director was a big fan of, and while not wanting to make a direct noir film, did want to kind of incorporate some of that vibe to it.
Oh, yeah.
This is a great way. Normally the, griddled, offbeat detective is the one to talk to those who see in the shadows.
Yeah, and also it works well comparing it to like an international perspective of to like an outlier, how like the Salem witch trials or the European witch trials, they would they would just point the fingers at, oh, that person's a witch, and everyone was pointing fingers at whoever without any real...
Yeah, you didn't really need reason.
Exactly. And also, like, this light little torture once he does bring the mentally challenged man in,
yes,
and feeding him the lines to make him an informed convict, not necessarily, like, he's molding this character to what he wants instead of actually doing work. Showing
yes.
again, his backwaterness, and maybe not just backwater, but really lazy and just kind of wants this to be over, to be out the door and move on to the next thing.
Well, this is a great way of showing, like, how, like, starting to build how, from a modern standpoint, how we see that and go, wow, that is terrible interrogation tactics, that's not how you should do this, that's terrible, but, like, layering it up so it's like, well, that's just kind of what we did back then.
Yeah, especially his partner coming in and kicking him over, and then putting a sock over his shoe to beat him more, and it works so well with this. Really, what it feels like is this makeshift interrogation room that's in some basement corner, the boiler room of the police precinct, and that's something that Raidens points out as well was common at the time. Is there was a heavy military and police force that was doing this to people.
There sure was.
But it that's the thing is, like, without that context, it still works from our vantage point, because, like, okay, they're not exactly great people, they're corrupt, because even Dumaine isn't stopping his partner from beating this guy.
Exactly, and that's where that noir setting, that noir background in the story writing really kind of helps bridge that international gap. We don't really need to know the, like, political and historical context of what happened, because we had a similar problem. Ours was just at a different time in, like...
I mean, it still was. I mean, look at our 70s and 80s cops not talking to each other and all the true crime bullshit that was able to get away with until they started, hey, this crime looks like this crime that's a state line over, but 5 miles away.
Wow, we've 2 killers. They're both named Carl, and he signed his name. What a coincidence. Yeah, no, we're no better, but it is an interesting, like, way to bridge that gap.
Very much so. And, like, especially the way he starts portraying the paranoia of the community with the fog, with the stranger rolling in, the woman clutching her purse, showing that further state of paranoia that it's not just the cops who are dealing with this. It's the
city.
Yeah, it's the common people.
This is something that I love, that he shows the paranoia, and yet, to really help hold this true to the 80s, nobody stays frickin' at home.
No.
They're paranoid just in the streets. Instead of having the, like, sense to be like, okay, well, there's a killer in the loose, we're not going anywhere for a while.
Yeah.
They're just scared and doing their normal stuff.
Because you gotta still make a living somehow.
True, but some of them are just loitering outside where the killer can get them.
We don't know.
I know, but I kind of like that he includes that, because that was one of the questions that, like, a lot of for the real case, that people were like, pointing fingers in the wrong spot. Well, how could you be caught if you're outside? Because nobody knew.
Well, and on top of that, from what they're showing is this new man's a stranger.
Yeah.
He's a drifter that's come into town. And honestly, like, we can see he's trying to help, or, like, not even help, just ask for directions.
Yeah, he's just lost.
And then trying to help her out. It's this way of, like, showing that I say Dune Ho because it's Song Kang Ho.
Yes.
Man. I love that it shows that he's very action-oriented first with that legendary drop kick that Song Sang-kyung wasn't expecting. And, like, it's even just that comedy of, like, well, you should have told me who you were before I beat your ass, because I didn't ask in the first place.
It manages to be very 80s on the nose.
Yeah, and part of that comes from one of his earlier roles, The Foul King, where he played a heel, so...
Yes, a great show.
Yeah, but it also begins to show this new guy that, hey, he's the new detective from Seoul, and his first interaction with this man is he gets drop kicked, and then he sees him faking evidence.
Yeah, this poor guy from the big city is like, what is wrong with all of you people?
Yes, but at the same time, he's being shipped from Seoul, which for some perspective, I'm not sure how much of us are familiar with Korean geography, but
I'm gonna say none.
Yeah, this is about an hour and a half from Seoul via train.
Which, by American standards, that's really freaking far.
American standards?
Okay, for those who don't understand, America, an hour and a half by train sounds like nothing. but that's really far. That'd be really, really far by our
standards. You're saying for other people.
Yes.
By our standards, it's not that far.
No, but by their standards, very, very far.
Yeah.
Been shipped states away.
An hour and a half is a day trip to...
I literally drove that to get here.
Yeah, I know. But even then, like, showing that they're taking a lunch break with a suspect to watch a show.
Yeah, just, for funsies.
And again, going back to that one shot of, hey, they're going from, like, this in-between of torturing this guy and trying to mold him to, like, being buddy-buddy with eating at the same table with him.
Okay, but that's where I think the uncomfortableness that lingers, and part of that is the music, which is never quite feels right, and I'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
But because they are constantly doing this, well, we're friends, but we're working together, but the working together really feels pretty scummy, and we both know it. It starts to build that, well, maybe if you're scummy at work and I know it, maybe you're scummy outside of work and I just don't know it yet.
Yeah, I mean, he's a cop who's visiting a sex worker, which I don't know the legality of it. I know...
I didn't look into it.
Yeah, I know porn's illegal over there, but that's from other movies and stuff I've seen.
Yeah.
But also, it's not just his scumminess and work, but, like, in his detective skills of, like, ignore the smudges. It's like, ignore the small details of, like, hey, is this your shoe?
Yes. I know it's the wrong color and size, but is this your shoe?
Exactly. Well, I mean, it is his shoe. He took his shoe to the scene.
And put it there, yeah.
Put a stamp in the mud and then took a photo of it.
Which, I mean, is very incriminating.
Yeah. And even on top of that, he's teaching this guy how to shovel. And I like that the new detective is just kind of taking this backseat to the shit show. And he's like, well, I'm stuck here, I guess.
Yeah, nowhere else to go. I guess we're in this together.
And, like, just doing, like, this is why I love Song Kang-ho as an actor. He's great in doing, like, the confident comedy. Yes. Where he's, like, turning back to, like, showing how great he is as a detective to this city slicker who's probably a better detective than he is.
He does such a great job of being so confident throughout this whole movie, even when he really shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. Like, clearly forging evidence, clearly messing some stuff up, but he's confident in it. And you know what? That's how you fail upwards.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just showing with the new guy. I'm gonna keep forgetting his name. Tae-yoon. Mm-hmm. Where he walks off and just kind of lets them do their childish detective work. Says a lot about what he thinks about them.
Yes.
Because on top of that, the next scene we see him doing his own detective work to get caught up amidst the safety and blackout drill that they're going through.
Yep.
And while the local, and like right after that, while the local cops are so worried about publicity, he's already like back into case mode where he's like, hey, what's going on with this? Like, hey, your fingers are webbed. Can you actually really do this? Like, yes. He knows what's up, that they're going to just make asses of themselves.
And it just ends up being such a good way of holding on to those twists for the movie from a writing standpoint, because we've got a character who's so confident, so worried about getting this solved as quickly as possible to ease, the public's worry, not necessarily to solve the case or get justice, that you really don't have time as the audience to even, like, wonder, like, well, maybe he's, like, super far off. I know he's doing it wrong, but, like, he's confident. He seems to be on the road. So having that, like, one character in there to be like, no, there's a really obvious thing wrong, is a nice way to twist it, as opposed to be like, well, I have information nobody else could possibly have known.
Mm-hmm. And this was also Joon Ho's a little bit of a tie-in to Copycat Murders. He does this a couple times throughout the movie, where there was, at the time they thought, a copycat murder. Mm-hmm. So it works in that regard, as well as, like, recreating that memory of this series of events without actively recreating them, because this is what he had at the time. We'll discuss it at the end of, like, what's come years, like, two decades after.
Literally, yeah.
And then on top of that, like, the way he portrays time in this movie, where we see the grass, or not the grass, well, technically it is a kind of grass, but the way he's showing time passage, because this movie does something interesting with its compression of time, where, I mean, we have this and we have the holiday party to show that, hey, stuff's progressing, or time is progressing, but it takes this 8 years of crimes and compresses it down into what feels like this serial killer ramping up into, like, a berserker mode.
And honestly, that's such a smart way to do it, because it helps keep the audience on the same level of anxiousness as the general populace of the town, where, man, this is a lot of stuff to happen in the course of just 8 years.
Yeah.
But in movie format, that's kind of hard to portray. So this is a balanced way, I think.
Very much so. And he does it with just small context clues of the second murder we saw was in a wet, muddy field, and now the wheat's pretty tall right now.
And I appreciate that it's not an obvious, like, oh, now it's Christmas.
Yes.
Like, this is subtle, but it's in your face enough to be like, no, time is passing, and it's passing in large chunks.
Exactly. And then on top of that, his reversal of that first time we're at the scene where the community is messing up the crime scene.
Yep.
It's now the cops that are screwing it up because everything falls to shit because they don't have direct evidence, because when the dad shows up, he's like, I know you didn't do it. And like the guy's so distracted, it's like you kind of lose the rest of the confidence of the community at this point.
Yes, we're starting to really feel the pressure of like, we need to find this guy.
Yep. And because of that, they're forced to bring in a new head of I forget the actual title, the head of their department.
Yes.
And it forces Duman to kind of return to actual investigation as the new director, clearly unimpressed with his like really shoddy police work.
Can't blame him, but an interesting, like, he now has to like face the facts that this whole time he keeps talking about like, oh, I could recognize a killer from his eyes.
Yep.
Like, killers have a certain look. If I could just see him, I would know it's him because they look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's being forced to face the facts of like, well, clearly you don't, or you would have already found the guy.
Yeah, no, exactly. He's being forced into basing his connections off real evidence instead of his intuition.
Yes.
And that's the thing, is like, because it goes from him doing his really shoddy, like, flipboard pointing,
yes.
well, this leads to this, and then Tae-yoon comes in with just very minimal investigation.
Yeah.
Just to start really working towards it, and it's like,
there's like nothing happening on this case for so long, and yet they're spending so much time working on it.
Yes.
It's so frustrating.
Exactly. And I like that we go from this to like them just casual eating, because it's like while they're trying to investigate, like life still has to go on.
Yes.
I think that's something Joon Ho does interestingly as well. Like you talked about a little bit of like, oh, they're out and about,
just existing at 2 a.m. in the streets at night while a murderer's running around.
Yeah, they're out meandering or so.
And I mean, honestly, it's them just living normal life, but it comes across as not having that rush to like find something, because it's set in that way of like, well, we have to take a break. It's like, it doesn't feel like you should take a break though. He's still out there.
Yeah. There's
that panic behind every single person who's just meandering on the street of, why aren't you working on this? Or why aren't you out? Why aren't you in your home with your door barricaded?
Mm-hmm.
Because from the audience perspective, you feel that tangible fear, and yet for them it's been years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
they're tired.
And on top of that, like, Duman continues to try and put the suspect, or he's backtracking to, like, he's being too nice to the suspect, kind of, like, reversing his tactics, like, where they were too mean to him, now they're going to be too nice and get new results. And he's, like, really, really trying to put the new guy in his place, and to the point, like, even calling him a Soul City bumpkin.
Which is very rude.
But I love it because, like, you think about, like, normally when you call someone a bumpkin, it's because they're backwater. And
it reminds me of that Pace commercial for the salsa where they're like, my salsa's from New York City. New York City. You didn't see this commercial because you were in a different place.
I have zero clue what you're talking about.
There was a commercial, I think in the 90s, maybe the 2000s, for Pace, honestly, I'm sorry if you like it, the shitty salsa brand that comes in the little, like, funky jar with the yellow label and the red top.
Oh.
It's bad. It's bad salsa, and the reason you probably haven't had it recently is because my husband is a salsa snob and buys fancy-ass salsa.
I didn't really grow up eating salsa either, so...
That's okay. This was the type of salsa your mom bought to pour over a thing of chicken and put in the oven. It was not good salsa. We were not eating this salsa, but they had a commercial with a bunch of cowboys sitting around, cooking their beans on the campfire, their horses in the background, and the new guy rolls into town, and he pulls out a thing of salsa, and they all go, salsa from New York City. New York City! Because clearly the city slickers don't know nothing about salsa. This is hilarious because pace is bad.
Fascinating.
This is bad salsa. And it felt very similar of all these country guys being like, a cop from New York City, the cop from Seoul. Just because they're from New York City doesn't mean they know how to make bad salsa.
Okay. I get what you're trying to allude to there.
I will send you the ad later tonight.
I know which salsa you're talking about. We had it for white people taco night when I was a kid.
Correct.
So.
It is white people taco night salsa.
I think that was like the only salsa we could get overseas.
Yes. Honestly, that would track really well.
Yeah. But even on top of that, like, while they're at their Christmas party, the way he's looking down on the FBI because the U.S. is too big and they can't do groundwork like South Korean detectives because our scope of work is so little, like my little dick, which I think is a funny.
So stupid, but I loved it.
It is funny though because like it's like this little reversal of like how we have these super macho cops and like macho man movies where they talk about like how big their dicks are. It's like
we do.
No, we're stronger because our dicks are small.
You know what? Whatever makes you happy.
But what it does also begins to show like his lack of understanding because like his understanding of the U.S. police or the U.S. FBI is completely based off of cop dramas.
But how hilarious because this movie legitimately is based off of cop dramas from the US that they happened to just be doing the same thing as the cop dramas from the US.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, like this is like the really last confrontation between Do-man and Tae-yoon, like direct, like almost fist fight between them that takes their new boss, like saying, "Hey, knock this off.
Yeah.
Like, if I see you guys fighting again, I will both knock you the fuck out."
Yes.
Like,
absolutely.
Work together. Like, it's this forced
camaraderie, which is usually a fun thing in a cop show. This one takes it just a little bit extra.
Yeah, it doesn't make it funny like our usual buddy cop movies that we think about.
It also doesn't take it in the extra buddy way. Mm-hmm. Because this is, I think, where they start realizing that, well, we've looked at all of the normal people in town. That just leaves cops.
Well, it's not even just the normal people in town. All we see that Do-man has brought in is...
It's like two guys.
Well, it's in the first scene, it's like the usual suspects. It's kind of like the ugly-looking guys.
Yeah.
The
guy who already has a criminal record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The usual guy who suspects.
So the guy who was literally in jail when the crime happened, and he's like, "But you've committed crime!"
Again, relating back to the U.S. true crime scene, is that's how we operated for so long. It's like,
that's how we still operate it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta check out the usual suspects. It can't be the family man down the road who's installing all of our CCTV stuff.
It would never be the nice young man living with his mom.
No. Yeah. But even then, like, I do appreciate that they are still trying to, the way he writes it in, trying to lay their trap amidst the turmoil with the blatant red and obvious dress. Mm-hmm. And, like, I love how Do-man is so crass and sexualizing his coworker.
It's extra copy humor.
Oh, it is. But, like, the way it comes across isn't comedic. It's just this kind of asshole nature.
It feels like he could have been like, "Oh, taha, I was joking, lighten up." But you know in reality he was not joking. Oh. He was just being mean.
He does the same thing in another movie I watched recently called Secret Sunshine, where it's not as bad, but he's... I don't know if maybe it's just a thing of the era of, like, their male coworkers sexualizing the... I mean, in the US we still have the similar stuff, but, like, in a movie setting of, like...
Sure, like, really playing it up.
Yeah, no one's saying anything against it, but...
Yeah, maybe.
Another movie about child murder that I've come across that's going to be our next fucking 2-3 months of shit.
I don't know if I can do 2-3 months of child murder. It's a lot of child murder.
It is.
Why is there so many movies? About child murder.
I did not intentionally stumble upon these at all. It was just, I'm going to watch that. Oh,
there's a
Dead Kid.
Yeah, Dead Kid seems to be a whole genre, kind of like Dead Parent.
Yeah.
What is wrong?
But even then, like, speaking of the sexism of the time, and how he portrays it, is like the children that hey, kids, come here, we'll drive you home.
Yeah.
it's the children are in disbelief that, one, there's a woman cop, and two,
Yes.
that she's involved in the violent crimes team.
Yeah, like, oh, you're not the parking lady?
No.
What?
Exactly. But the kids are all not only used as a way to portray the sexism of the time,
Mm-hmm.
but they're also used as a way to further the rumor mill of that. They're like,
Absolutely.
oh, the victim hides in the toilets at night.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of, like, random-ass stories running around by this point. And, like, how do you
Exactly.
know which one to follow?
Yeah. No, exactly. And, like, we get that, and then we actually get to see the next murder take place.
Yeah.
And, man, the way that scene is done so well. There's something I missed the very first time I watched this, and then upon rewatching, where, like, she's just walking and kind of, like, looking around. In the background, out of focus, you just see a head pop
it's
up
real spooky.
and come back down. It's like, oh, shit. Like,
it feels animalistic in a way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it reminds me a little bit of, like, the Velociraptor scenes in Jurassic Park.
Like, predatory in a, like, terrifying way.
Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, the way he does it is it's not just a scene to show us the next murder.
No.
He uses it as a way to give us a clue of, like, hey, this is done outside this factory.
Yep. Here are all of the elements that are happening around, like, it really giving the audience a chance to try and solve this case. Because at this point in the movie, you're so frustrated with the cops' lack of evidence. You've now seen one. At least from the audience perspective, you're like, okay, maybe now they will pick up on any of these clues.
Mm-hmm.
Anything, like, oh, here's where he was, here's the time of day it was, like, anything. And they kind of do.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's better, but then you realize how little that actually was.
Yeah, and we have this transition away from, like, the reason we start getting these clues is because up until this point, most of this movie is from Du-Man's style of investigation, where we've been just going based off this instinct, and now we're starting to give facts because Tae-yoon is taking over command with real prints really showing the investigation, whereas Du-Man is still trying to shove in his smudged boot prints of, like, but this, I found this. Like,
exactly.
Forcing real detective work instead of treating it like the TV drama.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where he is asking Tae-yoon for advice, showing that he has a little bit of growth, but he's not, like, fully there. And even then, it is the woman cop, Officer Kwee-ok.
Yeah.
Probably butchered that.
I think you just call her Inspector Kwon.
Who is instrumental in bringing that first major clue together that, hey, it's this unpopular song, that's the song called Sad Soul.
Yeah.
It's raining. But then on top of that, Joon Ho uses her as another ploy of sexism, where she gives them all these clues.
She, like, lays it out for them.
And then it's, okay, cool, now we're off with the rest of the other characters.
Yes.
And then, even then, like, Du-Man is still basing his investigation off, like, he's calling her Hollywood to, like, make fun of her. It's like, dude, you suck.
But also, it's kind of proving his own bias of, like, he, even outside of his investigation, really judges people based off of what he thinks they look like. Yeah,
well, to case in point, he's obsessed that, hey, they have to be completely shaven. That why we have no DNA or hair is because they're completely shaven down there. So he's going to these bathhouses looking at people's dicks.
Just so wild.
Oh, I love his character so much.
Yeah, especially because, like, you've seen now how they treat a crime scene. Mm-hmm. There's no way you would notice.
Well, they're doing investigation around the rape area.
Yeah, we've seen how they handled the rest of the crime scene. I'm not saying they're doing a good job anywhere else.
Hey, their forensics might be, or they're the morgue guy.
The morgue guy.
On what the morgue workers.
We can
pathologist.
We can hope the pathologist is better, but the dead person has to get to the pathologist, and it seems like they wash them on the way there.
Yeah. Well, and even on top of that, I like that they still focus on Du-Man's heavy focus on his, like...
Yes, he's so obsessed.
Instincts, because when he meets up back with his lover...
Yep.
He doesn't want to shower because he's been to too many bath towels at this point.
So silly.
And this is the part where, like, they go to bed as a married couple, and, like, I get where, like, you maybe lose the context of what their relationship's supposed to be.
A little bit, but at the same time, I think this is less leaning into her line of work and more leaning into that kind of noir detective scene where, like, oh, it's more about the relationship and what information she provides him.
Exactly. It's the information, because he's coming back to her for that, because she's spreading more of the rumor mill of, like, well, haven't you gone to the shaman to read for this? And, like...
Which, oh my god, this, like, ties back into, like, the over-spiritualism that I was reading about for the 80s, and I was like, no way that was, like, a cop problem. And then I was reading into real-life, like, examples. He didn't pull this out of thin air, unfortunately.
No, well, and that's what's great, too, is, like, the shamanism works as this anti-evidence tool, because he's showing her this book, and she's like, no, put that away, I don't want to see that that sad, nasty stuff that you're trying to get off of me.
Yeah.
So, like, she is that she's a little bit of that last line of anti-detectivism that...
It's like the last attempt for this movie to just prove its point that you can just, who a bad person is by looking.
Yeah.
It's that last, like, hope that that's something that this movie can prove is real.
Well, and I think what's funny, too, is that while they do this, he's like, and then she's like, but I don't want to see your book, but if you buy these charms, he's like, no, I don't want to buy them.
Yeah.
And then immediately after, we get him going to the last crime scene with the incense sticks. But it works too, because at the same time, Tae-yoon is doing his own investigation, and they both have that kind of same idea of, like, oh, they'll return to the crime scene, one through active detective work and one through his
gut feeling,
his stupidness.
Yeah, and that's the part where it finally, for the audience, you're like, oh my god, finally we feel like maybe we're onto something here.
And here's why it works, because they both get lucky with the pervert.
Yes, they do. And
it's this weird bonding chasing moment where they're not, like, competing to get in front of each other.
No, they finally the buddy system we were hoping for.
They're running together, and it also shows where Tae-yoon's lacking as well, is because they're like, hey, we know this area, follow us, because we can guide you where you need to go. Like, there's all these back alleys that you might not know about to get around.
Oh, exactly.
And it's this, and when they do finally get back to the factory, again, leading them to the clues that we as an audience know about.
Yes, and as the audience, you're like, this is it. This is where we're finally going to get some progress.
And they do a little bit.
They kind of do. I mean, they capture somebody.
Well, here's the thing. As a character, Man actually does his actual investigation of, like... Yes,
he finally does real cop work.
Yeah, he sees the man in Julio's Thongs for Men.
Which is hilarious.
Where the dude's actually wearing women's underwear.
Yeah,
but...
Which, again, red, because that's the color of this movie.
And not just that, but the way he sees it and then pretends to play off his intuition rather than his evidence. So, like, still, while he has advanced a little bit from what we've seen,
he's still so set in his ways.
Yeah, he's still not set in his ways. He's set in portraying his ways.
Yes,
to say, hey, I got this through my intuition instead of, like, the evidence that he's actually put together.
Exactly.
And then I like that, like, while we have that minute, like, the very fraction of, like, oh, there's progress, it's reverted because it's, okay, well, it's just a pervert with a sick wife and children. Of course he's going to be some weirdo who goes off to jerk off in the woods alone, because he can't do it with, like, 5 kids in the house and a sick wife.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, this movie does a good job of, like, trying to explain why there's more than one crazy weird person in this town.
It's just people are weird.
People are weird, and I kind of like that this movie gives an out for that weird, because I don't think many movies, especially ones from Korea, do. They just, like, let you expect the weird and just let it be. This one gives you a tiny bit of an excuse where he's like, no, I've got 5 kids, 1 room, my wife is sick, there's nowhere in this town to go.
This is my one relief. I take the underwear, I take my porno bag, and I jerk off alone in the woods.
I thought I was alone, you were the weirdos behind the bush.
Exactly. It turns that pervertedness a little bit around onto, like, you guys were the weird ones.
Yeah.
Exactly. But the other thing, too, of, like, why he works so well as, like, this counter suspect compared to, like, the previous man, is that while they are torturing him, they're forcing a confession.
They sure are. leading the suspect for sure.
It starts not adding up because, one, they're not being good cops.
No.
And then on top of that, this guy, while a pervert, I wouldn't even call him a pervert, he's got
a guy with no privacy.
Yeah. He's average and he's not as malleable as the last guy. He's just like, okay, yeah, sure, if you stop hitting me, I'll say that, but then he forgets it and immediately says something different.
Yeah, he's a bad red herring.
Exactly. And at the same time, you see the frustration start to build up in Tae-yoon's character as he's starting to follow the rumors as well. He's doing his own investigation that's starting to eat into the way that Do-man would have done stuff of he's going to investigate the school at this point.
It's one of those things where it kind of proves that, especially for the time in the 80s where this is taking place, there's only so much you can do that is like true, like forensic science.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, you will also be sucked into the rumor mill, into the superstitions, into the like, well, maybe if I just stand in the right spot at the right time, I'll catch him.
Exactly. Even to the point where, like, the paranoia with the schoolgirls is like, well, you're supposed to semi-trust the police at this point.
We're starting to maybe wonder.
Yeah, we've seen them knock down some schoolgirls doing a protest.
Yeah, rude.
He tries to, like, hey, I'll put the Band-Aid on you. You can't reach back there, so I'll do it for you. Ends up being a huge reveal later on.
Exactly.
But he says he's too busy to look at the rumor about the outhouse, but still does it. And just the way Joon Ho builds up this tension of this outhouse scene. Mm-hmm. And then it's just revealed that it's some teacher taking a piss.
Yeah, just a guy.
Well, it's a woman.
Yeah.
Who's like, why would you investigate? Like, it's a childhood rumor. Why would you go to the bathroom without talking to any of us beforehand?
You didn't even sign in with the principal. What's wrong with you?
Exactly. It adds that little bit of comedy and like that build of that urban legend that has a little bit of truth. A little bit of truth to it.
Because it's one teacher who's sneaking away to use the bathroom.
No, it's not just the teacher. It's what leads into that. True. Hey, that one of the victims who survived is behind the schoolhouse or lives in the field behind the outhouse. So there is that moniker of truth that, okay, this person survived. They don't want to talk to anyone. Also, a little architectural is like there's a remnants of the Japanese occupation in this scene.
Yes, yes.
But, and she could also be a way of, like, the scars of that, too. But, she is, like, that little bit of, here's where the rumor mill starts is, you see that train of thought of, she got attacked in the field behind the schoolhouse. The guy had to have been in the bathrooms, otherwise where else would he have been hiding? Came out and attacked this woman.
Well, and then you get that frustration, too, from the audience's perspective of, this person's been here the whole time, and none of you have talked to this person? We've all known that, Sally out in the woods got attacked ages ago. She just, she's a loner now, poor thing. No one's went in to take a witness statement?
No. Well, the other thing is, like, on top of that, they're probably thinking they're two different cases to begin with.
Potentially, but yeah, like, at this point, you guys have been working on this forever.
Well, they think it's two different cases because she survived. Every other person's been dead. This is just your run-of-the-mill, poor to say, but rape case.
Yeah.
But it works because in a movie that's about faces and anyone could be the killer, she doesn't see the face. And she's based off a real person who survived because she didn't look at his face. That's where that plays in of like the rest of the movie is about the focus on what this person looks like.
True.
And she survives because she didn't see his face.
Yes. Yeah.
And even then, we go from, okay, there's been this little bit of evidence that's progressing Tae-yoon's case. We get back to the precinct, and they're still torturing this guy.
This poor guy.
And, like, the chief is holding true to his promise. Like, you guys are horrible. Like, piss off.
You have to start doing real cop stuff.
Yeah, and the person who still gets more involved, the person who distracts them from their egotistical male bullshit is Kweok, who puts them into act or tries to put them into action, but they can't because it's like, okay, well, it's raining, the songs come on, but we can't because there's protests.
Which is so frustrating because you're like, well, you guys know this is happening.
Yeah. Again, for domestic listeners, this is a big thing because not only is it tense because of the serial killer going around, but in South Korea during most of the 80s, they were under a military dictatorship that suppressed any democratic movement. So, like...
Yeah, no protesting.
Yeah, no protesting, no multi-party system. Like, this is why they can't go out, is because there's protesters and police action. So...
Exactly.
They don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
Which makes the reveal of the next victim a little bit harder, because they had everything there to save her. Or maybe potentially get in the way, but couldn't.
But couldn't.
And then what makes it worse on top of that is not just that they couldn't save her, the perversion's going even further. He's cut up 9 pieces of a peach and the pit and shoved it up her vagina.
So rude.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
But it's showing this build of depravity of the character.
Like, he's starting to get bolder, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's no longer, afraid that he might get caught. He's been doing this for too long.
Yeah, it's pushed it past this point where Do-man is fully turning to Tae-yoon of, like, this is on me. Like, I can do basic murder because instinct, but this is something I have. This is a sexual perversion that I don't know or get.
Yes, which does mirror a lot of the 80s here in America.
Yeah.
We saw there finally was, like, the study of it, seeing the frustration that they're having where, like, they know it exists. They know that that's a thing. They don't have the tools to find him.
No, exactly. But also, like, with them, the civilians not able to work with them, or we saw earlier on with, like, they went to the radio station, the postcards, like, we don't keep any of that. We get so many postcards, we just throw them all out. But now they have one that's finally playing a factor into the final confrontation. And then on top of that, it's like the person they find seems to be a less likely suspect. He's just this regular office worker who's working a desk job, reading.
But at this point, he fits it because we're running out of people to point at.
And it also fits it because we get that evidence of the woman who survived is he had soft hands.
Yes. Yeah, he doesn't do manual labor. He's at a desk.
Exactly. So it's these little bits of evidence that we're getting that are leading us to this suspect 100%. Or almost 100%.
Almost, because we're still, especially watching this year, in the current time, not even in 2003, you're sitting there knowing, like, yeah, that's still circumstantial evidence, though.
Yeah.
And so you're going into this being like, man, I really hope you're right.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I mean, the way he puts it is everything is adding up. It doesn't feel like, the way he frames it doesn't feel like it's circumstantial evidence. It is 100% fact that this guy is the man. He fits every single detail that we've been told at this point.
Yeah, but we've been told like 4 details.
But but here's the thing: is that's the only details we have to go off of.
Yeah, no, like you see where they're coming from. You're just like looking at this with some hindsight, being like, "Man, no."
Well, because at this point it's evidence based. It's not intellectual or through the grapevine of like.
It's something at least.
Exactly. And honestly, when they're investigating him, it's such an intense scene because there's this little bit of, okay, all 4 of the cops are together in one front, and then these little zooms he does on the suspect. And at the same time, there's this major shift now that Tae-yoon has his suspect instead of Do-man's suspect, where he starts acting like him more and more.
Yep.
Showing that maybe he's not so different because he's from Seoul. Maybe this is why he got sent from Seoul, is because he was too much of a do-man in Seoul. Exactly. And then, like, while the guy's egging them on, it's this uncomfortable tension that forces I forgot to write his name down. Do-man's protege to just out of nowhere drop kick this guy across the table.
Yes.
To the point, like, this is the straw that breaks the camel's back of, like, okay, you're fired. Yeah. Fuck off.
You can't be doing that in front of the boss.
Exactly.
Maybe behind the boss's back in this precinct, but not in front.
Not even then. But yeah, it's just this, it helped, it also, it's a great action scene, but it also breaks that tension of something is going to build up until one of them can't take it anymore. And of course, it's the rookie of the rookies.
Yep, exactly.
And then on top of that, like, once we have this guy, everything is so run down in this movie that...
Oh my gosh.
It progresses.
You're tired.
Well, not just that. It's the way that's colored as it progressively gets more black and white. Like, the energy is being drained from everything while they can't get everything. I mean, Tae-yoon is relying on a confession over evidence at this point now. It's like he's got all this, like we've said, circumstantial stuff, but it's very...
something.
It's convincing circumstantial evidence.
And in the 80s, it probably would have been enough.
Uh-huh. But even then, like you said, it ends up being circumstantial. And, like, there's that point where Tae-yoon kind of realizes that the first person they had wasn't a wrong person, but they were viewing him from the wrong standpoint. They were wanting him to be the killer instead of being a observational or being an observer.
Exactly.
A witness.
Exactly.
So it's like this, it's this big thing of like, oh, the way he's talking was past tense. Like, things that you're not thinking about because you're invested initially in that emotional charge that really drives the first half of this movie. That, okay, now we've had this reshocking of that emotional drain to that this movie has been basically turned to black and white. That now there's some more energy brought into it.
Yep, exactly.
And this talking is showing the lack of confidence in the detectives. Like, everyone around them, once they get to the diner or the restaurant, no one is really believing in them at all.
Yeah.
But, man, that is such a tense scene, though. Like, while they're, like, all confronting each other, and then the nail to the leg, and then cut to, like, the meat cooking is just so visceral.
Yeah. Without being overly graphic either. Yeah. It's a very nice balance.
Well, it's a turn of events where that history of violence against this man has built mistrust in what they can do. And it also, like, kindles the people of, like, hey, we don't trust you at all. It's not just him. Exactly. It's everyone else around him.
Exactly.
And then on top of that, like, while they're chasing him, they get him into the field. And then Tae-yoon, while trying to get his evidence, fully goes Do-man and uses violence.
Yeah. The frustration has caught up with them.
And honestly, like, the special needs guy death just feels so tragic because he was so innocent compared to everyone else at this point.
Especially since this movie tries so hard to prove that, like, you can't judge a person by their face. And that he's, like, the poster child of it, especially the first beginning.
Yeah.
And then to have them proven, like, no, here's a guy who's, he's been in jail, he looks normal. Oh, here's this other guy who, we get busted for, he's a normal-looking guy. It's just him.
Well, there's a couple other things that this does, too, is his death shows that Tae-yoon has gone too far. He's taken over as the main lead.
Yep.
Whereas Do-man he runs away to Sol-young, his sex worker's house, because it's gone past, like, what he's comfortable and able to handle. Like,
yeah, he's out of his league.
Exactly. It's this, he's become more of the public than Tae-yoon has.
Yeah. Because even though he's agreed to try the newer method of logic and police work, this has gone on for years at this point. Everyone's run down. He's out of ideas, and even though he says he's moved on to this, new way of thinking, he really never did. No, because, like, even on top of that, like, in a Deus Ex Machina level of revelation, the U.S. comes in with the forensic because Korea didn't have the availability or the... They didn't have DNA testing at the time. Yeah, they were able to, like, okay, well, we're able to... we found semen, so we can track some DNA on this. And, like, we are really trying to have this guy be Tae-yoon's man. Yeah. And in a way, it's a little bit of decline in the masculinity that we've seen in the rest of the movie. Is like, both these characters at one point were relying on either instinct or their evidence or how good they were as a cop. They were confident. Following a woman's evidence, but not, like, actually giving her any type of credit whatsoever. No, again, that confidence. Exactly. The confidence is gone from both of them. But one is handling it in fear and retaliation, and the other in aggression. Yes, very much so. Tae-yoon now feels like the backwater cop compared to Do-man. Do-man's just like, okay, I'm out of here, peace. Yeah, absolutely. And, like, to the point, like, he feels like he has abandoned the cause after seeing Wei-hoon's death, and Tae-yoon is now the one possessed by it all. Yeah, he's haunted by it in a way. And then, like, this tragedy is all cued to lead to the end of, like, okay, well, we let this guy go. Now we've got to bring him back because there's the schoolgirl's death that doesn't follow any of the other clues. And that's why it feels
that's what leads you to realize it's not this guy initially, is because, one, not raining.
Yeah.
2, the song's not called because the guy's in custody.
Yeah. I think part of it is coming back to the real world guy and realizing that even though from a, like, publicity stunt, this is based off of, quote, the first real or modern serial killer for Korea, he really wasn't. There has been someone doing this. It's just not publicized in that American way.
Well, and we're also looking at specifically South Korea, not the entire history of the peninsula. But
no,
it's the first serial killer where they could identify the modus operandi.
And it was publicized in a very, like, American way.
Yeah.
Giving him a cutesy nickname, having all of the evidence shown just on the news, having the rumor mill just run wild, having that fear sit with people in towns where they weren't anywhere nearby. Yeah.
I wonder if the investigation team gave themselves a cute name like the Hot Dog Squad.
God, I hope so. How else are you going to make it through those long-ass years of being like, man, the Hot Dog Squad's doing really bad. We haven't solved this case at all. At least having a nickname and maybe like a team shirt would, boost morale a little.
Maybe. I mean, it's 3 guys. 3 guys and a woman.
Hey, it's cheaper to get the t-shirts printed that way.
Yeah. But I do like that we get this, like, image of that tunnel that starts to lead to, like, the tunnel, be a little bit of a symbol of the tunnel vision. And, like, the way that Tae-yoon starts to break as the rain's falling and they're trying to get this guy. And, like, there's this, he's almost forcing this confession of the guy. Like, he's gone full Dae-yoon of he's beating a confession out of this guy.
He's forcing something that isn't there.
Exactly. And just, like, I love that in the commentary, there's a joke that some people thought, because they get the evidence.
Sure.
Dooman shows, like, no, he's not the serial killer. The DNA test came back and he's not him.
It's not him.
The joke was that Sang-kyun couldn't couldn't read English.
Oh.
And so that's why he's sad, and not that because his entire case just fell apart
That is funny. Something that I noticed was, especially now that I'm starting to become more familiar with this director's work, so I think I'm up to like 4 or 5 from him, including this one that I've seen, he does a great job of including a, like, pause or almost a void in his movies.
Oh, yeah.
And this tunnel scene really encapsulates that, like, it's not even really a breath, it's more like a holding of your breath as you wait for the next thing to come. It's a silence, it's a stillness, it's a darkness that he manages to incorporate into so many of his films.
Oh, yeah. No, if you haven't seen it, Chris, same vein as Serial Killer. Not Serial Killer, True Crime. It's about a woman with a mentally challenged kid. The kid's is suspected of murdering a local schoolgirl. And she goes head over heels to, like, try and prove his innocence.
Very cool.
You would love that one. Like, in that vein, Mother's the way to go.
Alright, I'm gonna check it out. Something that tied really well with this, like, pause that he's becoming really well known for is the music. None of the music in this is what I would say overly standout-ish, which is impressive, because especially for something that meant to be like a cop drama, noir sort of thing, usually that has very powerful music behind it, or very distracting music. Something with a big beat, something with something very recognizable.
Yeah, now that I think about it,
You don't remember any of this music, do you?
No.
And that's intentional.
And it works for me because I'm musically stupid.
And that's okay. This music I found very interesting. The music for this was primarily done by Joe Hisaishi, Japanese composer.
Miyazaki guy, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, Hiyashi, yeah.
They later brought on Taro Iwashiro, I believe is how you say his last name, to kind of help bounce ideas off of, because they didn't run just one set of music by this. I think they ran like 3 different discographies past the director to get like final approval, which for some movies I know is pretty standard. We're moving away from that pretty hard. It's not really a thing much anymore. Like now it's you kind of get what you get and you don't complain. So hearing that and hearing that the two of them worked together to really focus on music that was not overpowering, not overwhelming, something subtle, similar to how the killer is a subtle guy. He blends in well. Something that's almost forgettable blends into the background. But the whole music track, especially when we're dealing with the case parts or having this silence, has this couple of notes that are a little off. The beat's a little bit wonky. The pitch is maybe a little here and there, a little disjointing if you're just sitting there really focused in on the music.
Is this Brian's observations?
No. No, it wasn't. This was actually something that I didn't even notice the first time I watched this. I started doing research, noticed the name of the composer, and said, oh, well, hell yeah, I recognize some of the other works that he's done. Definitely
he composed
interested.
Zumi the same year.
Yeah, talented guy. So I was interested because he is one of those composers that really puts a lot of extra thought and detail from the movie into his works. It's not necessarily like hiring oh, well, I want something big and epic, I'll hire Zimmerman. And I know I'm going to get big and epic. Will it match the movie? Probably, but it's not going to have that detail necessarily. Like, you might, if you spend time with him, but you might just get kind of generic movie, right?
Yeah.
He's kind of gotten really good and niche at this much more subtle but pointedness with his music that I've really enjoyed. Saw the name, saw that he wasn't the only composer. Again, not necessarily too out of there, but not super common, especially for a joint effort between a Japanese composer and a Korean movie here.
Yeah, I mean, IMDb says Iwasha was the only one, so Iwashiro.
Yeah, I believe Taro was brought on kind of later on, not given direct credit. But
no, he's the one who was given credit.
Oh, okay, so...
Yeah, Joe's the other one, I guess, who wasn't.
Okay, so that does make sense. So having those two ideas come together for this, I found so interesting, especially here at the tunnel scene, where we're having this long pause. Mm-hmm. The music also takes a pause, where you just have this, uncomfortableness as opposed to a breath.
Yeah, there's this bleakness that he uses both viewpoints of the tunnel from looking out of it. Of, where Taeyun's future could go to nothing real quick. And then the other side where when Hyung-gyu, the suspect, ends up running off into the tunnel, where it just makes it feel that much more bleak and uncertain.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then I think what he does best here, too, is he doesn't allow us to linger on this pause.
No. It's uncomfortable, but we move on. Yeah, we
cut forward to Do-Man doing what everyone else did, move on with his life, marrying Sul-young, having kids, selling juicers.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta move on.
But at the same time, the way he ends it is he ultimately can't let that past go.
No.
Where while they're driving back, he's like, oh, pause here. So he's going back to, in a way, remember his time as a cop.
Mm-hmm.
And even the colors return to normal. That's this reveal of, and even with that, it's okay, it's back to his normal life. And then the reveal of a new potential witness that they never talked to, another little girl that's she saw a new witness. She saw someone snooping around that area.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay, well, what did he look like? He looked like normal.
Yeah.
And then it's just this. He also
and
at
then
the
that
same
pause.
Well, and the way he does it too, it's not just that pause that Do-Man looks at the camera directly.
He sure does.
It's the fact that he's not using the child to mirror him, like in the beginning of the movie.
No, he's finally thinking about it for himself.
He's a much more mature person at this point.
Yes, and this is where it ends.
Yeah.
This is such a fun ending for a movie that essentially has no ending.
Yes, and what his intent at that point was to, hopefully that guy was watching the movie while he, when the movie came out, so that way, hey, we're still looking for him. Little did he know at that point.
Yeah, boy.
This movie came out in 2003, and the cases were still technically unsolved, even though Lee Chun-jae was arrested in 94.
Sure
and
was
in prison for the murder and rape of his sister-in-law.
Yep, and because the director was paying really good attention to true crime, he got a lot right accidentally.
Yeah.
Well, an uncomfortable amount.
Well, I mean, we see that with directors who do the research. I mean, or stage producers too, because look at Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove.
No, absolutely.
The secretary of, or someone in the defense
had to call in and be like, what do you know?
Yeah, it's hey, your cockpits are a little too accurate. Where'd you get this from?
He's like, I just thought logically about it, and that's
no.
what
They had actual like reference sources. Like they had books of the interiors.
Yeah, they did. Our director for this one admits that he just thought logically about the case, and he thought about it a lot.
Exactly. I mean, he said he was trying to solve it at one point, and that's the thing too. Is like,
and he got a lot of like detail points right, knowing that the guy would have had to be. There's certain times where he couldn't have committed it. He must have been in prison or in the military for that. Got that part right.
Well, in like 94, like after that, it still worked because why they still thought it was unsolved is because there was a college student who was murdered the following year after Memories of Murder came out. So there was still continued speculation of like, shit, the killer is still out there. He's still acting upon this because maybe he's taunted him on.
Well, and then the movie does play down the atrocity of the crime, which I don't blame him. This is a lot. He believes or confesses to 15 along with a lot of rape cases.
We see that in a lot of serial killers, though. They're trying to amp up their prison credit. Absolutely.
And something that it was interesting to hear the news people complain that was like ideas from watching American TV. But they're doing like American TV to like promote it was very interesting to listen to like this idea of like why he would say such terrible things.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that the movie, it toned it back, but it's still a lot. It's still egregious. It still feels like constant fear, constant panic, constant worry that more is going to happen.
Yeah, he gets the atmosphere right because that's the thing is like he was trying to make a crime drama that was one realistic, factual, but also showed a conflict of extreme emotions, which we get.
We do. We absolutely.
We see that because, like, we feel for the victims and we feel the frustration of the cops, but at the same time, like, we know they're corrupt. We see multiple times where they're corrupt, but we can't help but root for these country bumpkins trying to solve shit that's way, way over their pay grade at this point.
No, absolutely. And then the last thing that he really nails with this is that frustration for sure. Because then when the case finally came to light, the way Korea's judicial system worked is they only could prosecute him for his sister-in-law because the other crimes, the statute of limitation had expired.
Yeah. By the way, this wasn't until 2019.
Yes.
16 years after Memories of Murder was released.
Yes.
That the identity from one of the DNA evidence,
yes,
as they thought would connect the cases to begin with.
Again, got that right.
From one of the underwears matched. And then at the same time, there is some good that also came out of this. Because we talked about, at the time, they were talking about, because even then I think like it was like 2009 when a lot of these commentaries were released. So they were still under the impression that there was a copycat killer.
Yeah.
Yoon Sung-ye,
good try.
was a man who was in prison for what they thought was a copycat crime until he got retrialed and re-released in 2020 because like
yes
but that's also the thing that I find fascinating about this is that while he got a lot right, he was also basing it off of some other historical facts that they thought were right, or crime or court facts that they thought were right at the time. So in a way it also continues that idea of like anyone could have been it and everyone was that.
Yes. Well, and here's the thing that I think he did better than almost any other based on or quote unquote based on a true story crime movie has ever done is he separated this story, which is heavily based in some real world shit, separated it perfectly and far enough that the people whose lives were impacted in the real world by this case, this is not really about them. It's not touching on them. It's not bringing up anything for them because the victims are like unique to this movie.
Yeah, it's
like it's based on, but he also like this wasn't solved. He didn't have an actual person to be like, well, I need to get these last few details about this terrible man.
Yeah,
it's so fictional that it happens to line up very well because the research is good. But I honestly think having that separation means that this is a much more well thought through piece than just following a case.
Yeah, it's his memories of that era mixed in with the facts and memories of the cop that he worked with and the
Mhm.
journalist that he worked with to really polish this movie. And it shows.
It shows.
This is his second movie.
This is an amazing second movie.
I know. But like that just shows like the thought and craft he puts into everything, because that's the thing with South Korean directors. I've learned they don't have the same output as like American.
They're not, hitting 2 or 3 movies a year usually. At least not to the extent that we are.
Yeah, no, I mean you've said you've seen 4 of his movies.
I think I'm like halfway done.
You've seen like half of his major stuff. I mean, I know you've seen Parasite.
I have.
I'm sure you've seen Mickey 17.
I have. I think I see.
Yeah, I know you've seen Snowpiercer. We've watched it together.
We have.
And you've seen Memories of Murder. So you've seen 4 of like his 6.
Yeah, absolutely.
6 full feature films. So
yeah. But honestly, for a second film and based off the other ones, I am super duper impressed.
Oh, you're.
Have I seen the top?
No.
Okay,
no.
Good.
I think there's 2 you haven't seen. Mother,
yes,
which is fantastic, and
now
Barking Dogs Never Bite.
That one did get brought up a few times. Yeah,
you're gonna love it.
Yeah,
because it's a little bit more comedic.
I do like that.
But heads up!
Oh no!
Remember how we watched Gozu and he killed the dog early on?
Yeah. No.
Barking Dogs Never Bite. He hangs a dog in like the first 5 minutes. So just heads up.
Oh no! And I just promised Brian we'd watch Homeward Bound. No more sad pets.
I will. If I can, I will have him do Barking Dogs Never Bite with me.
Okay. Well, I'll get to it eventually, I'm sure.
You can borrow it.
Thank you. But I wasn't the only person who was impressed by this being his second film ever. This got adapted into a 2014 loosely inspired film called Gapdong. Foot Fairy, a Bollywood movie, also claimed inspiration from this not too long afterwards, and it got re-released / adapted into a TV version that came out in 2016. And then once The Killer was released, that also had a second wave of the movie being shown in theaters.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, like, yeah. I mean, it's a great movie that has its impact and still has staying power, obviously.
No, obviously. And, super impressed that even by his second movie, he was already developing some pretty important and interesting, like, director signatures to install into his movies, because I'm really enjoying the intense eye contact despite how uncomfortable it makes me.
Yeah, the other one I hate is Okja. Fuck that movie.
Okay, well, I'll move it to the bottom of the list.
Yeah. So, Chris, what do you rate Memories of Murder on our good, bad, weird scale?
This is a good movie. It's not about a good topic, but this is a good movie.
Yeah.
It's directed well, the acting is phenomenal, the music I really enjoyed, despite it not being like something I'm not gonna listen to the playlist, but for the movie, loved it. And I thought that the topic was handled in a much more mature, thought through, and sensitive way than almost any other real life true crime that I have watched in a very long time. I loved this.
You need to rewatch Zodiac.
I do, because that used to be one of my tippy top movies for a long time, but it's been probably like 10 years.
Oh yeah, no. If you want a good South Korean crime drama or true crime adjacent, I Saw the Devil, and I'm very basic in my South Korean film knowledge, so I apologize if there's better ones out there.
I'm sure there is.
I Saw the Devil and The Vengeance Trilogy. Any of those, you're good.
I will definitely be adding it, because this is a genre that I love here in America. I just honestly never really had access to any of the ones from overseas. Yeah, no, I gotta say, I'm also in the good camp. I mean, I just like Bong Joon Ho in general, so... Yeah, I mean, I totally see why.
Yeah. So, do you recommend Memories of Murder?
Oh, absolutely. This movie was fantastic. I think if you like the true crime genre at all, this would be right up your alley.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's a good entry point into South Korean cinema and just that genre of film and his filmography in general.
Oh, for sure. And also, if you like true crime, the real-life case is very interesting, and there is lots of very well-done true documentaries to go along with this movie. So watch this first, then watch those. Very interesting to tie them all together.
Yeah, so... But, yeah, that's the end of our... Well, not the end. It's It's our South Korean installment. We do have a joint collaboration between South Korea and Japan next.
Yes, very
And
exciting.
then I'm more excited to also go back to our first German movie that we get to cover.
I have it placed on my shelf next to the picture frames, ready and waiting for review.
Yeah, it's another Criterion one, so if you know, you know.
Yeah, I've set aside like a whole week to get through this damn commentary for it.
Oh, no, you're fine. You'll be fine with it.
No, the German stuff, I've got to weed my way through it. They're detailed-oriented.
The commentary's in English.
Thank God.
It's a film store.
That's even better. A man with a plan.
Yeah, but anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Peace. Thank you for stopping by this here town of the good, the bad, and the weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always, check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace.